Hey guys, my name is Brandon Jones and I will be talking to you today about VR or virtual reality. We will go over the history of virtual reality as well as some advancements that we could possibly see in the future. But first, let's describe what virtual reality is. VR or virtual reality is any sort of screen/goggle that a user can wear over their eyes in order for them to perceive a virtual environment around them. This can be used for gaming. It can be used for students. A lot of the time it's used in anatomy courses in nursing school so that the students can understand more about the human body without actually having to use a real one. And it can also be used for exploration. NASA has been using it, and we'll get into some ways they are using it here in a little bit. But first, I want to start off with the history of virtual reality. So all the way back in 1968, you have the very first virtual reality system ever born, and it was called the Sword of Damascus. And it was invented by Ivan Sutherland, and this system consisted of two screens that sat right about here on a person's head, and it was connected through a whole big metal pole all the way up to the ceiling so that it could track left, right, up, and down movements of the head and adjust the screens accordingly. Now, the input from this, since it was all the way back in 1968, didn't actually come from a computer itself. It came from two cameras that were placed in another room that were looking at two cubes that were suspended from the ceiling so that the user could move and adjust the perspective around them. So those cameras streamed the video across some cables all the way down to that metal pole and into the two screens of the person. They lined it up all perfect so that it looked realistic, and that was the very first virtual reality system ever used. Now, moving from there, we have the first time virtual reality was ever mass-produced as a product, which was in 1991, and this was called Virtuality. Now, it's kind of a combination between virtual and reality, and this was an arcade game that was sold to arcades, and they used at arcades, and people played with it. It wasn't very good. The screens were very low resolution. It didn't have any kind of room tracking, just some basic up and down, left and right tracking, and you had a joystick to move your player around. And then finally, we get into Nintendo's Virtual Boy, which was in 1995. This was by far the most mass-produced consumer version of virtual reality, but this one didn't actually come with any head tracking. It was merely a screen that you could put against your face, and it helped you see depth in the virtual game, and then you had a controller with it. That was pretty much it. And then moving from there, we actually see a dead period of virtual reality. So from 1995 to 2013, a few products have tried, but nothing really came close to anything that is going to come in the near future after 2013. So in 2013, this was a big step for virtual reality. We have the invention of the Oculus Rift DK1. Now, the Oculus Rift DK1 was the development stage of the Oculus Rift. This is a headset that the user can use. It only had one screen, compared to many in the past that have had two, and it had two optical lenses that the user could use to see that screen, and it was split in half, and it actually ran off a computer, so you could play video games with it. Now, I had the chance to be on the developmental stage of that system, so I got to use it all the way back in 2013, and let me tell you, it was very basic, very cut and dry. There was only left, right, up, and down tracking. There wasn't any kind of room scale tracking like we have nowadays, but it's what got me hooked in virtual reality. It was a great system, but it needed to go a little farther. And so that brings us to the Oculus Rift DK2, which came out in March 28 of 2016, which is just about 3 years difference between the DK1 and the DK2. I unfortunately didn't get to try this one out, but it had two displays, and they were both higher resolution, and this featured room tracking, which was very cool at the time. Now, other than that, there was nothing super new about this one, so we're just going to move to the one next down on the list, which is probably one of the most monstrous stepping stones in the term of virtual reality. we have the HTC Vive, which was released in April of 2016. Now, I am actually a proud owner of the HTC Vive. I didn't get it right when it came on sale, but I got it shortly after, and let me tell you, it is amazing. So what sets the HTC Vive apart from everything else? Well, the HTC Vive uses two screens, just like some in the past, but it also has room scale tracking. So you have what these things are. They're called base stations. So in here is a little camera that can, it's a little light that produces infrared beams that bounce off of the goggles as well as the controllers, which we'll get to in a little bit. And then it bounces back into here and it reads that information and it can determine where those things are in 3D space. And so you put these two things, you have another one, put one in one corner and the other in the other corner, and it would look at your room and be able to tell where you are in the room. And with those, that allows you to now walk around. You can bend down, you can jump, you can crouch, you can do all these things that everyone always wanted to do in virtual reality. As well as the headset, you have these little nodes, which it picks up on the base stations, and then here are the controllers, which again have those little nodes, as well as trigger and other buttons to do certain things. Now, moving down, I want to describe what VR does for gaming and for students. So first off, I want to start with students. Virtual reality can allow, like I said earlier, nursing students to discover more about the human body. They can dive depth, they can take bones apart, they can see what's inside of them. It's endless possibilities there. And then for gaming, again, it's more hands-on, it's more interactive, it's gotten harder. You now have to actually physically run, crouch, jump, dodge, do all these things in real life. It keeps you more active instead of just sitting at a desk or a computer screen. And then finally, I want to go over virtual reality exploration. So I mentioned this at the beginning a little bit, but NASA has been using virtual reality to explore places like the Mars. So the rovers there have taken a bunch of 3D images, and now people back here can put on a headset and they are on the Mars landscape. So if there's a place they wanted to go check out, they wanted to get a closer look, they wanted to study more, they can now do that with their own two eyes and their hands and their feet. They can go walk around and explore those things. So where are we headed with virtual reality? We are headed to endless possibilities. Virtual reality is ever expanding. It follows the technology of computers. 50 years ago, computers were huge, taking up entire rooms, and now they've slimmed down and they're faster. We're going to see that with virtual reality. Virtual reality is predicted by many very smart people in this field that soon it will become indistinguishable from real life. Soon it will also be able to track your whole body. As of right now, we only have these, which are controllers you can hold, but many companies, third party as well as HTC Vive, are working on hand gloves that actually have little nodes that can press so you can feel objects, and they have force feedback, and soon we're going to see a full suit like that. So it's going to get very realistic, very fast. It's an exponential curve, and we're going to get there very soon. But other than that, that's my whole presentation on virtual reality. I hope you guys learned something. Let me know if you have any questions, comments. Yeah, thank you.